What's going on, everybody? This is Jerome Moore, host and creator of Deep Dish Conversations. And firstly, I want to say thank you for all love and support, and thank you for exploring the perspectives of social change with me on this platform. I want to encourage you all to like, subscribe, and follow us on YouTube and on your favorite podcast listen platform. And make sure you give us a 5-star rating if you're loving the Deep Dish Conversations. I appreciate all of the support again. I hope you all enjoy this episode.
This is deep dish, right?
Yeah, well, let's get deep.
So I'm going deep on both sides.
Danielle, McGee, welcome to the platform. How you doing?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
I'm out here. I'm a black man, out here trying to do my thing, and it's hot today.
It is hot.
But you looking good in that money green though, as I told you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I always like to start off, if I can, and if it's appropriate, giving people their flowers. A whole bouquet of them while they can still smell them while they're alive. So I definitely want to give you your flowers for just everything that you have done, doing, going to continue to do for black businesses here in Nashville, but also just the black business that you support outside of Nashville and possibly maybe outside of the country. So thank you from a black man to a black woman.
I truly appreciate it.
Thank you for bringing those talents from Chicago here to Nashville,
Yeah. It's been one of the best moves I've ever made in my life. So I'm happy to. It's definitely where my heart is. So while I tell you, I never get tired of being hearing thank you. I appreciate those flowers, but I do what I love. So, it's rewarding just being able to wake up every day and be able to do what I love and help people, because it's truly a dream come true for me. So
yeah, I believe it's truly brave for black folks to exist every day in their full black capacity. Because many of us don't. Many of us feel like we can't. Feel like there might be repercussions. A lot of it may be financial repercussions in their workspace.
yeah.
And so I'm glad that you're doing it and being an example on how to do that and still be able to thrive. Just just giving you a whole bouquet of flowers and
I appreciate it. Yeah, you're right. It takes some bravery and some courage to step out there, and to live and create the life that you want to live, to do it unapologetically, to do it in support of black people. That is it definitely every day, it takes courage, but I'm living my dream. So I'm going to keep showing up for myself and showing up for black people.
So for you growing up in Chicago, take us through that journey of adolescent going into adulthood in Yale. What would your closest friends say about you at that time? What would your parents say about you, about Danielle back then, and what do those Chicago roots look like, and how does that play out in some of your characteristics and personality traits?
That's a great question. I don't think anybody's ever asked me that, but I feel like I have fairly humble beginnings. Grew up with my mother in the household with me. I knew my father. They divorced when I was around 5. My father then moved to Atlanta when I was around 7. My father was a hustler. Actually, so some people say that word and it just means they out here on the grind. Like, my father was really a hustler, and so. But he worked corporate jobs, like worked for Ernst & Young, but then also like hustled, so my father from a very young age instilled in me like that you always need a side hustle, like you always need a way to make money.
Right.
My mother always was just gonna do whatever it took to make sure I was okay and had what I needed. My grandmother played a huge part in my life. Growing up, my grandmother was actually the president of a bank.
Oh, wow.
So you don't hear that a lot, right? Like a black woman, the president of a black-owned bank on the west side of Chicago. So it's interesting because while me and my mother were experiencing, I was the only child, me and my mother were experiencing a lot of struggles. And I feel like a lot of that was based on a lot of decisions that my mother made financially, just not necessarily being financially literate. So strange with her mother being, the president of a bank. But and found herself in situations where our lights were off, our gas was off, and all of my friends growing up were experiencing a lot of the same things. Like we were all doing okay, from the outside. We were all doing all right, always able to eat, but our lights might be off and it was not a big deal. Like we never thought about it as a big deal, but a lot of that really set the stage for who I am today. We had some struggles, but I always also had examples of what success could look like if you did the right things, if you went to school, if so looking at, those three people, I had my father over here that kind of worked the job a little bit, but hustled on the side. My mama who worked the job, always full time. My grandmother who was, the president of a bank, very successful, drove a Cadillac, had floor seats at the Bulls game, right? Like, so kind of strange, but as I've started to really kind of examine those three people, even in the last few months of my life, how they've played such a part in who I am today, and I've taken a little bit of all those people, and they've really molded the person I am today. So like my mother, and being this very kind of stable person that, she gonna get a job, she gonna stay there, she picks a few places she likes to travel, she gonna keep going there. My father is like, whatever I feel like doing today, that's what I'm gonna do. If I don't like doing it, I ain't gonna do it. I don't like the job, I ain't going back tomorrow, so, and I'm like a little bit of both, so it's just very interesting, but I've been I'm so much of the same person that I've been my whole life, and just very laid back in my demeanor, but at the same time, very much a hustler, like a kind of like a quiet hustler. Like I'm not out there, I'm not loud about it, but I'm doing my thing, behind the scenes. I have goals, I have certain things that I like, and I'm going to spend my money on them. But a friend of mine actually reached out last week as I'm planning my wedding, and she's like, well, I don't know what to get you. I haven't, I feel like we haven't talked in a while, and we've known each other since we were 5 years old. And I'm like, I'm the same me. I'm still simple. I'm still like, I'm doing well, but I'm still the same simple person. So my whole life, I've just been like, I'm going to find a way to make it. I'm going to find a way to make things happen. I'm going to find a way to help other people make things happen, but just in a very low-key way.
Yeah, and so that gives me a couple questions. So one, I want to know, what was your first hustle? Whether that started as a lemonade stand as a child, or selling Butterfingers and M&Ms.
It was walking dogs.
Walking dogs.
Before walking dogs was a thing.
Yeah, it's a whole market now, right?
Yeah, it was not a thing, because that was 20-some years ago. So
walking dogs.
Yeah, when I was probably about 12 or 13, me and my friend Antonia, she has since passed away. We grew up as the closest of friends. She lived across the street from me, and so it's funny because we went to a magnet school, and the school was miles away from our house, and so I started in first grade, she came in second grade to the school, and just so happened when we connected, we lived across the street from each other. And so we became the best of friends. And so, again, both of my mothers were out there just trying to get it and make things happen. And we were both our families were still kind of struggling. And we were like, we got to make some money. And so we would just go around the neighborhood and ask people, could we walk their dogs for $5, And so that was my very first hustle. So the friend I just mentioned that reached out to me last week, who I've known since first grade, we all grew up together, all went to school together, 1st through 8th grade or 2nd through 8th. And so Antonia was the first person to start her business. She moved to Miami, went to school in Miami. I went to school in Ohio. She stayed in Miami after school and opened a boutique in Miami. And that was kind of the catalyst for me to be like, I could open a business. And then me and Talia both decided we were going to open businesses. And so it was like when we were around, I guess, 25, when all three of us were like, I had my spa, Talia had her cleaning company, Antonia had her boutique, and it was just like crazy that we would have kind of these group conversations that I still have saved in GroupMe, talking business, like at 25, like bouncing business ideas off of each other, and like, you should try this, and you should use this, and I use this to build my website. Like, so it's just crazy how the people who you have around you have such an impact on who you become as a person and as a business owner.
That matters.
Yeah,
for sure.
Early on in life and just throughout your journey, it's so important to have the right business friends.
And so, kind of want to fast forward a little bit because it's on my mind, it's on my heart, so I want to go ahead and bring it up. You mentioned something that really stuck with me just then, as far as wanting to like shine a light on others, right? Which is what Black Business Boom do, and then Black Owned Nashville. You're not just saying, look at me, look what I'm doing. No, you're like, no, I'm projecting this light and want to put light on other Black owned businesses that deserve it, need it and deserve it. That just doesn't come from like anything, right? That's a personality trait and character that everybody, whether you have a successful business, a okay business, a business failure, they just don't. Everybody just don't have that type of genetic trait. Where does that come from? To say to want to shine that light on others, and do so in such like a humbling way, but also in a furious way, like, hey, we need you, Black businesses. Come out here. I have a platform that I want to put you on. Where does that come from?
A part of it is probably me wanting to be behind the scenes, so I think part of it is just me not wanting to shine. Like, I really don't. It's so funny because I've gotten so much shine in the
well
last,
deserved too. Well deserved.
And I'll be like, I didn't even ask for this. Like people out here trying to get on the news, and I'm like, these people just be calling me, but no, I have always just had a heart for helping other people. So I was talking about the spa. Yeah. So when I opened the spa in 2012, it was hard. It was difficult to get people through the door, and I thought because I had business degrees that I would be able to start a business and grow a business, and it was just and it was so much that I didn't know. And I found myself, driving Uber, driving Lyft. I was determined to not go back to work, determined to do this full time.
And wait, you said this was 2012?
This is 2012. Okay. We went through so much just to open. So it was back and forth. I think we finally opened August 2013. 2014 is when I was like, okay, the end of 2014, I finally went back to work. But yeah, I was driving Uber, driving Lyft, cleaning houses, bartending, all those things. And I'm like, if I can help one person not go through all of the things that I went through, in those 2 years as I was trying to get that business off the ground, then it's worth it, like that. And so I think that's what really drives me to want to help every day.
If you can go back, right, what resources do you wish was available to you where you could have tapped into, like, and potentially avoided some of those struggles and barriers that you had?
Yeah, there's a huge education gap. So it's, like I said, I have an MBA and went to undergrad, have a with concentrations in marketing and management. So I thought I knew business, but what I know now is that going to business school was preparing me to run someone else's business, not to run my own. So I feel like if I would have just been educated around all of the things that I needed, because it wasn't necessarily money. Like, I mean, more money is never a bad thing,
right.
like that always helps. But, I had some money. We had a little money, but didn't necessarily even know all of the things. So I didn't know anything about bookkeeping, for a small business and, getting the EIN and setting up bookkeeping and reconciling books, and like I didn't know all those things. I had gone to undergrad for marketing, but we were also at that point really starting to see social media pick up. And when I was in undergrad, they were talking about billboards and radio and TV commercials, when we talk about marketing, not necessarily online marketing. And when I did my MBA, I took some online marketing classes, but again, it's very different when you really are in the business. And so the resources I needed are what I'm building. And so now with Black Business Boom, we teach business owners all of those foundational things about your business finances and even your personal finances and how they impact you getting the funding for your business and how to use marketing, to grow your business, how to create a business plan, how to create a growth strategy. So I feel like if I would have had programs like what I've created, I would have been able to be more successful earlier in business.
During those struggles, what did you find out about yourself, right? Because they say it can make you or break you, right? And failures either make you or break you. And so what did you learn during that process and during that journey of falling down and having to get back up?
That nothing's gonna break me. It's not in business, not no money. Like I'm gonna always find some money. Like that's what I learned, is that I'm gonna always find some money. Like the journey, it was very rough. Like I said, I was in a position where I was going and cleaning someone's house every day to make $50 a day to be able to pay my mortgage. I was bartending a few days a week. I was driving Uber and Lyft on the weekend. But listen, I'm going to do what I got to do because I got bills to get, and I still want to be able to live my life, and do things. So I'm going to do what I have to do. And that's what was revealed to me, is that, if I have something I'm trying to do, nothing's going to stop me from doing it. And I'm going to put my all in it, and I'm going to make it happen.
Everybody not built like that. So if I'm a business, and I say, Danielle, hey, I'm trying to, I need my business booming, but I'm failing. And I don't know if I can get back up. Because again, that's not in everybody naturally a lot of times. And they might not have the support to give them hold out a hand, at least be able to, so they can pull themselves up a little bit. What do you say to that client? What do you say to that community member? That you can see it in their eyes, they on the verge of just giving up, and failing happens, and that's part of life. But it's your choice if you want to give them. Now, how do you prevent businesses and we talking about people from, throwing in the towel?
I'm gonna give you an answer that people probably won't like. Some people won't like. Entrepreneurship is not for everybody. It might not be for you, and that's just being real, because there are a lot of ups and downs. It's not easy. It's never easy. Like it's gonna be struggles, and if you don't have the mindset, and if you don't have that resiliency, it may not be for you.
Have you had to tell anybody that, like, this might not be for you?
I tell people all the time because I'm not the person who you come to if you want to be coddled and babied because that's just not my personality.
Right.
I am about giving you strategy. If you are like I want to make this work, I want to do it the right way. Give me advice. What can I do? And you gonna actually for real go do it? Then I will spend the time with you. You know, I don't like wasting my time with folks that I've had so many people come to me, ask me for advice, and then I'm like, okay, I check back in with them. Did you do such and such? They ain't do it. Don't come back to me. Don't come ask me nothing else because I gave you the plan. Like I gave you free game. Like I didn't gave you so tools. Much free. Yeah. I didn't gave away a lot of time, you know, and if you don't, I've had people not even show up for the calls. I didn't be like, hey, I'm gonna do some free coaching calls. They don't even show up. If they show up, I give them, you know, go do this, go do these 3 things, book another call with me for free, you know, and they didn't do it. This may not be for you. This is why you're not being successful because you're not doing the things. Right. So you can't expect success to just find you. Right. Like most of us are not going to just post a video and it go viral and then all of a sudden our business blow up. Right. That's not realistic. Right. It is work that has to be done. And there are days where every call you make, everything you post, everything is going to be a no. Nothing's going to hit. Right. And your feelings going to be hurt. You going to cry. You going to want to cry. You going to vent. And then the next day, you're going to have to pick yourself up and you're going to have to keep on moving. Mm-hmm. We've all had to do it. And if you can't find the way to do that, it may not be for you. Right. Or you may need to do some internal soul searching, or maybe you need to have some therapy to figure out why you're so willing to give up, you know, on something that you say you want, you know, because sometimes there's some trauma there. There's something going on internally that's making you want to give up. It's not external, it's internal. So, yeah, but like I said, it's not for everybody, and it's not for the faint at heart.
That's a word. You talk about your coaching. You talk about your free game, the consulting, the advice that you give. What is the best business advice that you received, or the one that kind of just stuck with you the most? You know, it might not have been something that made you the most money, but it was just something that is a foundational pillar of like how you continue to do business today.
Do the work.
Do the work. That was the line. Do the work.
Do the work. I mean, every coach I've ever worked with, you know, do the work. You just got to do the work. You know, you can't just expect things to happen. You got to do the work. Mine was, that always stuck to me, figure it out. Figure it out. We all got to figure. That was mine. Just figure it out. And you know, I mean, if we get more technical in business, you know, really understanding your customer is so important. Every coach I've ever worked with, that's the very first thing. Like, who is your customer? Right. Every VC, angel investor, coach, consultant, they want to know who's that customer. Right. Like, have you really nailed down who your customer is? Because if you don't really understand that ideal client, you really can't you can't do nothing else. Right. You know, you can't sell to them. Right. You can't price right. You can't do anything. Right. So that's where I start with everybody, you know, and if the answer is I'm trying to sell to everybody, we starting from scratch, you know, because which is okay. Not, sometimes you gotta like that's fine, up. You know, but it's not everybody.
You're a Black woman, and we know historically and currently, you know, women in general, but even more specifically Black women, have not been afforded the same opportunities in business, entrepreneurially, and corporate, in life here in this country. How has your journey been navigating being a woman and being more specifically, again, a Black woman in business and in entrepreneurship, and also running the business, also giving advice? Because we know that sometimes, you know, women's voices are not heard in many facets of life. whether it's just from a man in general, because you are a woman, you know, some sexist stuff going on right there, or giving having a baby on the hospital bed. You know, Black women voices tend to be ignored and neglected. How have you been able to navigate those things, and possibly share, you know, some stories to possibly help our women listeners and viewers maybe figure out some things on how they can best navigate a situation that they may be in that's based off of their gender?
You know what? I'm going to be honest. I focus so much on what I do get that I don't focus a lot on what I don't get and the opportunities that I haven't gotten. I feel like more in my corporate career, that was more of an issue.
Okay.
And not just being a woman, but being Black,
Right.
being definitely overlooked for promotions and positions, and knowing that, you know, the position that brought me here to Nashville, my boss left the company. He groomed me to take his position. He recommended me on the way out the door, groomed me, trained me, and they still gave it to a white woman. You know, so. And there have been lots of those type of stories from corporate America that I've experienced.
Right.
As a business person, there's so many no's that you get, just period,
Right.
you know, that
Right.
I can't say which ones are because I'm a Black woman or a woman in general. I know that, you know, when we think about my story, I feel like I've had so many opportunities that are not traditional, you know, and even right now we're running a program and we're talking about funding for your business. I've never gone out and really formally tried to raise money, but we know that there's definitely a gap when it comes to venture capital.
Oh, yeah.
And funding for Black women specifically. So I've seen a lot of women struggle with being able to get the money for their business.
Right.
Now, the funny thing about it is that a lot of us don't even know that's an option.
Right.
So when I start to talk to my students at Tennessee State, or I start to talk to, you know, people coming through any of the classes that I teach, and we start to talk about like VC funding or angel funding, and they're like, what? Like, they didn't even know that was a thing. And that was me 6 years ago. You know, I'm like, somebody will cut me a check because I got an idea, or I got a business that I didn't even know it was possible, right? So I think the first thing is us really even knowing the possibilities. And it's important for people who are in a position to educate us about the possibilities. Then it's important for us to position ourselves so that we are the investors, you know, right? Because this world, this country we live in, you know, it's going to always be a struggle. That gap is never going to close.
I want to pivot to this because this question doesn't get asked enough to me. It's always like the latter part, like, hey, what struggles, right? What strengths, right, do you think Black women behold because they're a Black woman in business?
We gonna figure it out. Like you said, that is our superpower, you know, and that is why everybody comes to us when everything goes wrong and want us to fix it, because we gonna figure it out.
And I want to say this, because my bestie, sister, Mary Ashley, she broke this down to me. And I'm not a Black woman, so I'm just unaware, right? And she came to me, and she's like you. She's a hustler. She's doing this, she's doing that. And she told me, she's like, Jerome, you know, what I hate the most is when, you know, I'm working with somebody and they realize my talents. They always want me to be an administrative, like secretary or, you know, scheduler or something like this. And she, you know, purely believes it's just because of my sex, because I'm a woman. And so I just felt like it was important for me to call that out so people can have that on their mind and reflect on if that's something that they do. But when you said figure it out, you know, fairly unfairly, I would say, that we might have a thing of putting a lot of stuff on black women because we feel like y'all can handle any and everything.
Exactly. It's unfortunate
Yeah.
because we will fix it. We will get it done.
Right.
But then we position ourselves for people to put everything on us to fix and get it done.
It don't get the credit.
So
it may not get the credit.
And then, I'll tell you, for me, I'm building the life that I want to live. It's important to me to not have to do everything myself, right? And so this morning, I was getting dressed and I was thinking, man, I have an assistant that booked my lunch appointment today. I was like, man, that feels good to be like, I'm going to meet with a VP of a bank and for lunch today, and my assistant booked it. Like, man, this is the type of life I'm trying to live, and I want black women to know that you can build the life that you want to live as a business owner. You don't have to be crazy busy and tired and hustling all the time, And my grandmother was always like, you gonna grind in your 20s, so that and maybe your 30s so that you can really enjoy the fruits of your labor. So, and that's always stayed with me. I'm like, so I grinded in my 20s. I was, like I said, I was running the business, bartending, working a job, all of it. Even when I was working full time, I was leaving work, going bartending, or, always had a hustle, always was hustling, stacking my money, doing all those things. So that now I'm not in a position where it's like, oh God, where's the next dollar coming from, right? But there was strategy behind that. But we deserve things. We deserve luxury. We deserve rest, and it's important, even as business owners, as black men and women, we deserve all of those things.
How can black men and women champion and support each other in business? Because seems like there's a lot of energy out there to try to separate us socially. Black women go through this, black men go through that. Black women are making more money and becoming breadwinners than black men. Black men have to step down and be, lose their masculinity. It's a lot of conversation around just the black family household and just black men and women. That is just not a lot of good energy.
People need therapy.
Yeah, that people need therapy. But even from a business standpoint, what are some of the things you've seen or some of the practices that you feel like we should practice in order to support and champion and really be about uplifting one another, if that's what we truly feel we need to do and should do for the successful for all of us to be great and excellent?
Yeah, I think across the lines of age, gender, as black people, it's time for us to just start to share. I feel like we are brilliant people, resourceful people. We know so much. We figure everything out, and then we keep it to ourselves, right? So we know how to do this thing, but then we not gonna share it with the black man.
Trauma.
It's so, that's why I said therapy. So I think that or you'll see like this group of black women, are accountability partners or whatever, or this accountability group, and there's not any men. So we have to be like, how can we pull the black men, over here? I think for black men, they have to be willing to understand they don't know everything, and and be willing to accept the help of black women. In a lot of cases, I feel like black men are like, I got this, I got it. I don't need, need no help from anybody, not just women, but for anybody. I'm gonna work it out. So I feel like that's a lot of, how they've been raised to figure it out as men, the pride and the ego, And I'm like, we want to help. And a lot, it's in us a lot of times to want to help as women and nurture and provide and support. But, many times we're met with like, no, I don't want it. I'm going to figure it out. Right. So again, I just think that we need some therapy. We need some healing. but we need to also be more willing to share just freely. I don't, again, I freely give away my time, my energy, and my knowledge because it's not helping me, like, and
Right.
to keep it to myself, like, it's,
Right.
it is what it
Right.
is. So I think that it's just important that we start to break down those barriers. I think that social media plays a huge part in keeping us separated. All of this is by design.
Right.
White people have caused this divide.
Right.
It's not like it just happened.
Right.
Like it was by design, right?
Right.
So we have to make a decision as a community if that's what we want to happen. So yeah, that's what I feel like needs to happen, is that we have to make that decision and we have to put the action behind it.
Speaking of white people, speaking of just non-black people in general, there was a so-called, quotation marks in the air that I'm doing for people who can't see it, awakening after the murder of George Floyd. A lot of, non-black folks woke up and realized, like, oh, black people are being murdered and harmed, which has been going on in existence since the existence of, the founding, of this country. And so a lot of people, a lot of non-black people are trying to figure out how to be allies and really what that means. And so I want to get your perspective on from a business angle. How can non-black folks be allies to black folks that are in business? Sustainable allies, consistent, authentic allies is just not something that is just trendy for the moment, so they can make sure they was on the right side of history at that particular time and then kind of go back to their regular scheduled programming.
Yeah, we've had lots of partners over the last couple years. Some of them got it right, some haven't. I will say that, the first thing that just the everyday person can do is just support, just show up, actively find Black-owned businesses and go and spend money. A lot of times there's this talk about capital and we need money. Most of the time we don't necessarily need a loan. We need folks to just come to our business and spend money,
Right.
and the business would thrive and be good.
Right.
But then there are cases where we do need funding. And so providing opportunities for us to get the funding we need, understanding in providing opportunities to get funding that there's also a gap in Black business owners having the foundational things they need to go and apply for funding. So we've seen a lot of funding, right? So we have partners that are lots of banks that we've partnered with over the last couple of years that are like, we got this money. And they come to us because they can't get people to apply for it, right? So we're trying to make them understand, because they ain't filing no taxes, like we don't know all the foundational things about running a business.
Right.
So we haven't been doing those things. So no, I can't go to Citibank and apply for a loan,
Right.
because I don't have no tax returns,
Right.
So it's really truly caring about the needs of the community and taking the time to understand those needs and meet the people where they are instead of guessing. I feel like there's been so many companies that have decided, let's try this. We think the Black people will like this. Okay, let's launch this. We think the Black people will like. We didn't ask for none of that. Like,
Right.
why don't you come to the Black people and ask us what we want? Or why don't you get behind organizations that are already supporting Black businesses and pour some money into that? I will say one of our corporate partners has gotten behind the work that we do in educating Black business owners. They put their money where their mouth is, and they have not only poured in financially over the last year into providing education for Black business owners through Black Business Boom, but they're also like, what does it look like for us to continue to help grow Black Business Boom? Like,
Right.
what do you all need? So
Right.
it's about finding and supporting these organizations, social enterprises, nonprofits, for-profits that are already doing the work and just getting behind them. If you
Right.
want to be an ally, support the people who are already doing the work.
Right.
So that's my biggest
Okay.
tip I would give to folks that say that they want to be an ally especially from a corporate
Right.
perspective, is
Right.
getting behind the organizations that are doing the work. And if you're just an individual, go ahead and find the businesses and spend the money.
And so I'm gonna go a little deeper. I want you to take us inside those corporate meeting rooms, right? Take us inside of kind of what is some language that you're hearing where they just kind of missing. They really just dropping the ball and really missing the whole purpose of what they're trying to do, what they want to do, but they just have no idea.
Yeah, I'll give you an example. I won't call out the organization, but
No.
An organization built a platform to connect Black-owned businesses with banks for funding opportunities, right? So they came to us and said, "Can you help us reach some Black-owned businesses?" So I'm like, "Yeah, funding opportunities, we can help you. Tell me more about the loans that you're offering." We're offering loans of $100,000 to $2 million. It's not very many Black businesses out here that are gonna need $100,000 to $2 million in funding. Like, you really are almost looking for unicorns out here. Now, had you thought about who might need $10,000, $20,000, a $50,000 line of credit, then maybe people would be going to this website a little bit more, But they spent probably hundreds of thousands of dollars building this platform to connect Black businesses to these banks, and it didn't feel thoughtful to me for you to have the minimum loan amount be $100,000. So again, I felt like, there was some thought behind it, like, oh, we got to do something to help
Good
Black-owned.
intentions.
Yeah, the intentions were good, maybe. Because some of it is performative,
Right.
But, and they got to spend this money, and there's
Right.
probably a write-off involved because it's probably under their foundation,
Yeah.
But realistically, did you even ask what the average loan amount is for a
Right.
Black business owner? Did you do any research around what Black business owners are borrowing and what the
Right.
typical loan amount is that they would need for a small Black-owned business?
Right.
So again, a lot of it is performative, and it's done with what seems to be good intentions, but they're not doing their research.
What role does and can having more Black-owned businesses and Black people being able to create more businesses have in combating white supremacy, racism, discrimination, anti-Blackness that has existed here?
It helps close the wealth gap. I mean, that's what we're aiming to do. Entrepreneurship is one of the keys to closing the wealth gap here in the United States. Now, I mean, is that going to eliminate racists? No, but it's going to help us as a community to be able to buy real estate, to be able to build wealth for generations and
Create
our families,
jobs.
to create jobs in our communities, to be able to hire people who look like us, to be able to, keep people out of prison because they're able to get jobs, to be able to hire folks that have records, so it's really just about closing that wealth gap, being able to write our own ticket, to create our own lane, to not even have to go and deal with them at these corporate jobs in a lot of cases. So, and there's a huge gap in how many Black firms are actually employer firms. We're not high. Most of our companies are solopreneurs. We're not hiring others. We need that influx of support and capital to be able to grow our businesses so that we are able to hire. Very important when it comes to closing that wealth gap. And again, it feels like every time we start to get close, they start to move the goalposts. And that's so frustrating to me, because even with like real estate, we know that real estate is one of the keys to building wealth in this country. And now it's like, okay, well, let's price them all out, the market, let's raise the price on all the houses and let's raise the interest rates, because now we're seeing this boom of Black people buying houses, and now they done moved the goalposts and made it harder for us in different ways. But I could go on about that all day. But,
No, thanks for sharing that. And I'm always thinking about like Black economic power, right? And what that means, and what does it mean to have like businesses and then essential businesses that create other jobs so people can be their full, complete self as a Black person and not have to worry about microaggressions or not have to worry about conforming, assimilating, right? Which, many of us feel we have to do in order to retain the job that we're at. And so I want to say this, that if you are a white or non-Black organization, company, corporation, reflect on that and reflect on, are you creating a space where specifically Black folks can be them complete selves?
Absolutely.
Right.
And
and keep that in mind.
It's one of the reasons why you're seeing such a boom in Black women specifically starting businesses, while we are starting businesses at a higher rate than any other group in the country, because we are tired of going to work and somebody touching our hair or saying something slick, or, like we literally are just tired of it. And we're trying to protect ourselves, protect our mental health. And we're like, I'm gonna have to build a business because I can't keep going to this job. It's uncomfortable. I left my job in 2020, and I had a good paying job, and I was doing both, and they learned about my business because I was, like I said, I was on the news and getting a lot of shine, and then the microaggressions got strong at work. It got real nitpicky, and things got.
Wow.
And I know I was doing my job, and I was like,
you ain't hating, you ain't popping, you ain't got no haters, you ain't popping.
And I was like, they started. It got very uncomfortable, and I had planned to just at least stay for another 6 to 12 months, and then after George Floyd was murdered, Breonna Taylor was killed, and the company was based in Louisville. The CEO put out a statement and kind of was like, hey, check on your Black coworkers, check on your Black people on your team. Nobody checked on me. Everybody on my team that was based out of Knoxville, I was the only Black person. And nobody, my boss never was like, you okay? I had been out and I had been protesting all weekend. I was in these streets protesting, and got to work Monday, and they were like, let's share some great news. We know it's a lot going on right now, but everybody share some. That's how they kicked the meeting off, team meeting on Monday. Let's not harp on the bad news. Let's share some great news. And I was like, nah, I'm out of here. It expedited, because I was so stressed out, just in how they responded to that situation, and the fact that nobody checked on me. I even, that day after that call, I texted my boss and I said, I'm not feeling well. I'm going to take a mental health day. And she said, okay. And that was her response. And it was not like, you okay? You need anything? I hope you feel better. Her response was, okay. And I was like, I'm putting that notice in. So,
that privilege is a hell of a blinder.
It is.
It's a hell of a blinder. But, it's just,
But again, it put me in a position where I was like, this business got to make it. It ain't got a choice.
It gotta boom.
Exactly, it got to boom, because, I can't go back. At this point, I can't go back. I got to figure this out.
All right. Let's talk about booming then. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about Black business boom and Black Owned Nashville. And I want to say this. I had this written down that you're a Black business advocate, and activist, which was like when I was thinking about that, I'm like, oh, that's true. I ain't never heard it worded that way, so I like that, and I want to put that out there so people can use it. But talk us through kind of when you really is like, okay, I want to put this Black business boom together, and did that happen here in Nashville? Okay, and so
So the story, I'll tell it real quick. So when I moved here, I was taking a break from entrepreneurship, but I learned about a program called the Academy through Corner to Corner.
Shout out to Will.
Yeah, Will A. Cuffin and Shayna.
Shout out, shout out to all of them.
Learned about the program, and I decided to go through it. I was working on a whole different business. I decided I also wanted to be a facilitator because I loved the program. And it just kept hearing the same issue, like I can't get support for my business. How do I market it? How do I get more people to learn about it? And I started to just like learn digital marketing and all these things. So, but I went home that night and I said, I got to figure this out. I got to create a solution. And I decided I was going to start the Groupon for Black owned businesses. And that was because Groupon really helped me with my spot. It helped me to get people through the door. And so, I started to build it, and we launched Black Business Boom as the Groupon for Black-owned businesses in October 2018. By January, we had 400 Black-owned businesses offering coupons on the platform. I think we had got up to about 20,000 followers on Instagram. It was what people wanted.
And needed.
It needed, yeah. And but then I started to realize like there was a gap. A lot of these folks we were trying to onboard didn't have websites. We couldn't Google them. We couldn't find them. You know, they were telling us to tell people to DM them to place their orders. So we found ourselves educating folks around digital marketing, how to use email marketing, how to get a website set up. And long story short, pandemic hit. It became even more of a need for you to be online. Right. And we know, a large amount of Black-owned businesses closed within those first 3 months of the pandemic. We were able to work with Nashville Business Incubation Center to run our first Boomin U cohort in August, I believe we launched, of 2020. And since then, we've just fully transitioned to offering education for Black-owned businesses. So we offer free webinars as well as training cohorts to support the growth of Black-owned businesses, both not in digital marketing, business planning, business growth, as well as accounting and finance. So it's, and then...
Talk your talk. Talk that talk.
Yeah, it's been just kind of a seamless transition. Yeah. And then 2020, of course, everybody was like, I want to support Black-owned businesses after George Floyd. Yeah. Everybody was like, gotta support. And I was seeing all these lists floating around that people created, and I was like, I got a list. I got 500 business owners in Nashville on a list that I had already created using my Facebook group. So I said, well, I'm going to just launch a directory real quick, And so we launched a directory with 540 businesses in 2020. We now have about 1,700 Black-owned businesses on Black Owned Nashville. And again, that was just kind of like people want a directory. Wow. They want to be able to find Black-owned businesses.
Shout out to Nashville, man. Shout out to Nashville. Shout out to the Black businesses. And shout out to you.
Thank you.
For creating a space for people's businesses to exist in and be seen and heard. Mm-hmm. Again, flowers are being given.
I appreciate it.
Whole bouquet of them.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important as a business owner, you give the people what they want. And so again, people wanted to find Black-owned businesses, and I'm like, I gotta give them away. If it didn't exist, I'm gonna build it.
Now. You just made a great segue. Give people what they want. Historically, when Black folks start thriving and getting what they want, getting what they deserve, getting what they need, and there's some equity being, thrown around in there, tend to get a little pushback. It tends to be like, it tends to be looked at as threatful. Black excellence is threatful. I'm going to go ahead and put that out there. That's need to be a T-shirt. Black excellence is threatful to many folks and many people in general in this country, historically and currently. Were there any pushback on your end that you received in any kind of subtle or direct ways that, why it gotta be Black business boom? Why come it just can't be business boom? Why it just gotta be for Black folks?
Yeah, I get it all the time.
Talk to us about that. What does that sound like, look like, and how do you navigate that?
You get it externally. So, you run some Facebook ads, you post some stuff, you're going to definitely get it there. No matter how much you try to target your ads to Black folks, there are going to be some others that are going to creep in and, always, anytime I'm on the news and that gets pushed to social media, there's always, negative stuff.
If you ain't got no haters, you ain't popping.
Yeah, I'm used to it. It's to be expected, especially in Tennessee. The interesting thing is also the people who I have met with or had meetings with from a business perspective, advisor programs that I've been in, mentorship programs where I've sat down with somebody and they've been like, you should just call it boom, or you should just call it business boom. You should you're limiting your audience, you're limiting your customers. So I've gotten, that as well. And I'm like, what, I'm staying true to my mission now. And being transparent, I feel like there are other minority groups that need help, and we are a training solution for organizations that support the growth of small businesses. So we work with CDFI, Small Business Development Centers, Chambers of Commerce, across the country. And so many of them don't only support Black-owned businesses. Right. They may support veterans, they may support women, they may support all minority-owned businesses. They find us as Black Business Boom. And so they understand that's who we, but they will be like, we have a lot of Black women in our program, but there may be some other women and so we do have our Boomin University brand that if we have a partner that has a concern like that, then we'll do it under our Boomin University brand, because it's a business,
Right,
but,
yeah, exactly.
And we're not going to turn down the contract, right. But we are very clear in that our goal and our target is small Black-owned businesses. But again, I understand that there are women out there that need us. There are veterans that need us. There are people with disabilities that need us. And so it's finding that balance between, I'm not going to take nothing from a Black business to give it to somebody else. But again, in working with some of our partners, we don't have a choice.
Nashville is growing expeditiously. Every day, all day, 100 people moving here a day. It's crazy. How does having more Black businesses help create a better Nashville as well?
That's a good question. I think that there's such an opportunity here in Nashville, as the city is growing and there's this goal of being this model city in the U.S., and you can't have a model city if there's not equity. And so having Black businesses thrive in Nashville is key to building a more diverse city. Because if you want people coming here, you can't just want white people. Right. You can't just, if you want these large corporations coming here and bringing jobs here, you can't just want them to bring white people to work here, so you have to make a city that's comfortable for everybody. And coming from Chicago, I didn't have to look for Black-owned businesses. Now I gotta look for Black owned business. Like I have to. I came here and was like, I don't know how to find them. Where are they? Where's the Black neighborhood? Where are the Black people? Where's the Black business? And so you don't want people coming from cities like Chicago, New York, LA, and feeling like I can't identify with this city, because it's so white, and so, and Black businesses are an important part of the Black community. So Nashville needs Black businesses to make people, not even just Black people, Hispanic people, Asian people, everybody feel like this is a diverse place where people from different backgrounds can thrive.
When I was thinking about that question, right, and I'm being a Nashville native, and I was thinking about just growing up here in North Nashville, and you're surrounded by Blackness, right? Because I always like to tell people, like, Nashville is a Black city. Everything rooted, all the excellence is Black. But if you look at like the people, the bodies, it's white. It's a super majority white city. Yeah. But like more people have to recognize and understand, that the more diversity, but also the more Black businesses that we have, it's just gonna make our city even better. And that's why I really appreciate a corner to corner, a Black business boom.
Yeah.
Because you all champion that all day directly. There ain't no hidden message. It ain't it's direct.
Yeah,
we here to support and help Black businesses thrive.
Exactly.
And
we ain't gonna beat around the bush.
And I love that. And allies, champion that too. Champion that too. And if it's uncomfortable for you, welcome to the Black experience.
Well, growth is uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So for us to grow as a city, as a country,
right.
It's gonna be uncomfortable.
Right. I want to give you an opportunity to share anything that's coming up next. Whether it's with Black Business Boom, Black Owned Nashville, Boomin University, just all those things. Just would you tell us some top secret stuff?
Yeah, we have a lot of stuff coming up here in Nashville. So we're in the planning stages of a lot. We've partnered with Corner to Corner on a lot of things. So one of them is a Nashville Small Business Recovery Fund. So the Corner to Corner is one of the nonprofits that the city chose to be a participant, and we're a subcontractor. Helping them with that. So we're out here just making sure that minority-owned businesses, Black businesses, know about the fund, that there are $9 million in grants that are available and $9 million in loans that are available right now. But also under that program, we've received funding to run programs for Black-owned businesses. So we'll be running programs under that program, under that fund through March 2023.
Okay.
So we'll be rolling out those programs. If you go to blackbusinessboom.com, you can keep up with what's going on there. There's actually a Nashville tab on the page under our programming tab. Also, we have some MDHA funding. So we'll be partnering with MDHA and rolling out some programming that'll be offered for folks that are either in MDHA housing here in Nashville or under the income threshold. So also offering free programming to teach business owners or teach you how to start and run a business and grow a business. So those are the two big things. We also have one of our corporate partners. We're in a pilot program. We're running a pilot program with them right now. It's called Boomin to the Bank. It's teaching Black business owners how to become bankable, how to become fundable, how to get all those foundational things in place that you need to be able to go to a bank and get the funding that you need. So the pilot is in process right now in partnership with Corner to Corner as well. And after that goes well, which it will, we'll have about 70 slots open through the end of the year for business owners to join that program for free as well. So a lot of free programming coming up over the next 9 months. We're also building our online community off of Facebook right now, specifically for Black business owners. So there'll be more to come on that. I think it's live on the website though right now. If you go to blackbusinessboom.com.
So what's for you? What's the end goal? Like, what's the legacy you want to leave? Like,
Our goal, our mission is to support 100,000 Black-owned businesses over the next 5 years.
Okay.
And then I plan to sell the company and retire. So that is both the business and professional goals.
Okay.
To serve and support 100,000 Black-owned businesses in 5 years, and then I'm retiring.
you'll do it. You'll make it happen.
And then I'll probably just teach at that point. Teach some classes. That'll be about it for me.
Well, Danielle, I really appreciated this, and I hope you appreciate this conversation.
It was great.
And I always like to leave let the guests have the last word. Whether that's a message to Nashville, people all across the country, Black folks, yellow folks, green folks, white folks, however you want to address the viewers and the listeners. But I want to leave that space open for you to just leave us with some parting that we can have on our mental and mentally digest it and leave with.
I'm gonna keep it very, very, very simple. Black businesses need you. Go support Black-owned businesses.
Danielle McGee, I appreciate your time and look forward to having you back.
All right. This was wonderful. Thank you so
thank
much.
Thank you.